Good morning and welcome to Worldwide Wisdom. Today we're going to encounter the vision statement of Judaism. What's a vision statement? What is that? We've heard of a mission statement, but what's a vision statement? I'm sure the good doctor here will be able to guide us with a clear definition.
Sorry
to put you on the spot.
No, and it's all good because the vision is actually precedes the mission. The vision is the big picture of what it looks like if you accomplish the goal, yet visions are never attainable. It's always out of reach.
And what's a mission statement?
So the mission statement is the way you are doing it
Right.
at the moment,
Right.
And it may take longer to get there. It's not a short-term goal. It's a longer-term process of how you accomplish it.
So the mission statement of a company like Microsoft is to create gadgets of technology, right? The mission statement of Apple is very different, right? Very different. It's not just to create gadgets. It's actually to change the world. It's to push the status quo. It's to break the status quo. It's to technology used to be something that only corporations had access to. But Apple said, no, we want to make it for every single person, right? But a vision statement is something far more abstract than the mission statement. Would that be accurate to say,
Yes,
Mark?
yes.
Mike? So a vision statement is far more abstract. So for example, the mission statement of Chabad and Palm Beach Gardens is to be a home for every single Jew, right? Reaching out to every single Jew with engaging programs and incredible classes and experiences so that every single Jew can feel at home. That's the mission. But what's the vision statement? The vision statement is that's a mission. That's a mission. That's attainable. That's reachable. Toby, that's so easy to reach. The vision statement is something abstract and ethereal. That is to make God personal. That's our vision statement. To make God personal. Now that's like a lot less concrete. It's a lot more abstract, right? Today we're introduced to the vision statement of Judaism. This is my interpretation, by the way, where the first Jew shows up on the scene. It's Abraham. And the very first thing that God tells him is, Lech, Lecha, go. Now you know why you love it so much, because it's a vision statement. But, that's his dissertation. Very fantastic. So, Lech, Lecha. So what does it mean, Lecha? But this is going to be a bit of a different angle to your dissertation, because the way you interpret it is authenticity. I'm interpreting today a different way. Normally, when you tell someone to go somewhere, what's the most important element of the order?
Where you going?
Where? You want me to go? Okay, where? Imagine if your wife tells you, I want you to go. You're like, okay. Where? The store? The doctor? The hospital? Israel? Where? Right? But imagine if God says, go. I'm not telling you where. Just go. In fact, I am going to tell you where from. I'm going to tell you where from in great detail, but I'm not going to tell you where to. That is the opening words of today's Torah portion. Kind of interesting, right? Listen to how it starts. Vayamar Hashem al Avram, and Hashem says to Avram, is the first Jew, and what does he say to him? Go for yourself from your land, from your birthplace, and from the house of your father. So we know where from. And la'aretz asher areka, to the land that I will show you. To the land that I will show you. Now, what? What kind of a journey is that? Yet herein lies the most beautiful messaging, the most beautiful mindset that molds us as Jewish people. And welcome to Debbie from Tom's River, New Jersey, and Christian from New Mexico. Welcome. We love to see where you guys are from, as we are truly global Torah study, worldwide wisdom. So the Rebbe explains to us that what this is talking about, it's a mission, it's a declaration to every single Jew. Never to define yourself by your current circumstances. To strive to break free from the status quo and to aspire to what? To what I am going to show you. Who is I? Infinity. Can you imagine what that means? I'm going to where infinity is taking me. In other words, I'm heading towards infinity. You're a creation of this world. You're a finite being. You're subject to the laws of science, math, music, and nature, but you're not defined by them. Because we're on a journey to the moon and beyond. I mean, not even the moon. We're just on a journey towards infinity. That is the vision statement of Judaism. Never to get stuck in our status quo, never to define ourselves by the circumstances within which we find ourselves, but rather to recognize and realize that we are travelers in this place and not residents of this world. Jonathan Sacks, of blessed memory, former chief rabbi of the United Kingdom, was on a spiritual journey as he was seeking his career. He was trying to figure out what he's going to do with his life. As a young college student, he was in Cambridge. He came to visit different rabbis throughout the world. He visited the Rebbe as well. And in the private audience of the Rebbe, instead of him interviewing the Rebbe was interviewing him about Jewish life in Cambridge. And the Rebbe really put his feet to the fire as he was asking him, like, why is he not doing more with the Jewish students in Cambridge? Here he is trying to figure out what he's going to do in life, and the Rebbe's grilling him. Turns out, at one point, that Jonathan Sacks says to the Rebbe, look, the situation in which I find myself, this is preparing for an excuse. And the Rebbe cut him off and said, sorry, can't accept that. I'm paraphrasing. I can't accept that. A Jew never finds himself in a situation. A Jew creates his circumstance. We read in today's Yom Yom about the fact that God blessed Abraham to be, his descendants will be like the stars of the sky. And the way that the Rebbe interprets that is not only in quantity, but also in quality. That not only will be as plentiful as the stars of the sky, but that will be as influential as the stars of the sky. What does a star do? A star illuminates the darkness. It's dark, and everybody else says it's dark, and it's going to be dark, and you can't do certain things in the dark because these are the rules of the dark. Comes a star and says, well, I dance to the beat of a different drum because I'm a star. And I'm not subject to the circumstances around me. I make the circumstances. I illuminate. I'm a star. And that's what a Jew is. A Jew is a person that is a light unto the nations. He is one that inspires and illuminates those around him, including himself. This is very personal. That in recent weeks, I've been taking upon myself, daring myself to take on more responsibility. And it's a little, it could be overwhelming at times, the thought. So in my daily studies, before I daven, I study Chassidus. And I use a pencil and I mark my thoughts and I mark my comments on whatever it is I'm learning. I'm learning a profound text of the Rebbe Rashab from 1912. The Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Rebbe, this is considered the most deepest, fundamental, transformational ideas of Chassidus. It's called Ein Beis, the teachings of 1912 through 1915. So I opened it up the other day, and I noticed that there was like a pencil line in my style, underlining and question mark, in the way that I would do it, but it was like half a page ahead of where I'd finished my last session. So I'm like, it's not like me to just underline one random line in the middle of nowhere. I've got my whole system of how I do things. So I read the paragraph, and I'm like, I have not studied this yet. But there was a line over there. It's like a brand new book that I bought, and I've been under. I look at it, and it says, it's talking about the infinity of God. It's talking about how, God's infinity vis-a-vis us and what kind of relationship we can have with God and the various levels of the various worlds. We're not getting too technical right now. But it said over there that this is the part that was underlined. It says, for it is truly infinite, yet it is within his reach. And there was like an underline and a question mark, like paradox. Like, how does that make any sense? If it's infinite, then how's it within his reach? And I'm looking at this and I'm like, I did not do this. Could this be like some sort of an angel came in the middle of the night and marked this off for me to give me an answer to my question? Seriously, that's what I'm holding. And I studied the previous page and I have to catch up to make the bridge. And I'm convinced that I did not do this. Convinced, right? So I'm thinking that I've actually wrote in the margin, angel question mark. Like where did this come from? And I think that perhaps this is in fact exactly what God wanted me to hear. It is infinite. Yeah, what you're embarking on is something not easy, but it's within his reach. Maybe this is the message. that I needed to hear. Because as a Jew, we're Lech Lecha, we know where we're coming from. We're coming from the trappings and limitations and the definitions of this world. Where are we going? We go to the place that I'm going to show you. My standards, says God. My paradigms. And when you're dealing with somebody that's got an infinite mindset, you're going infinite places, right? So this is the vision statement of Judaism. Don't ever define yourself by your circumstances. Yes, if there was an actuarial scientist that was projecting the odds of the Jewish people's survival in the past 3,000 years, he'd be entirely bankrupt by now, but multiple times. But we have managed to survive because we are a miraculous people. And that's why when it comes to your own finances or your own relationships or your own spirituality or your own journey, don't be fatalistic. Don't define yourself. This is the reason why you're not allowed to count Jews. You can't count a million because you're not allowed to define a Jew because your words have power. If you count a Jew, what you're doing is that you're putting them in a box and you're limiting them. You're like cutting off their infinite flow by giving them a number. That's why you don't count a Jew. That's the reason. That's why when David counted his soldiers once, they died. There was a terrible plague. Because we don't ever want to define ourselves. That's the essence of prayer. What's prayer? Prayer is like, look, I'm not making money right now, or the health isn't looking that great, or the war isn't looking very exciting. But we're asking you here at Son, may it be your will that there should be a turnaround of events. That's what we're asking for. We're asking for a divine intervention. And when there's a divine intervention, then there's no limit. There's no limit. You can do whatever you want. It's going to be amazing. Right? And that is the vision statement of Judaism. Let's go a little bit more into detail. The Rabbi points out that where you're coming from is from three different places. I want you to go from your land. What does it mean, your land? Your land, the Rabbi explains, is natural tendencies. Your natural tendencies, it's your footing. Right? If you're generous, or if you're miserly, if you're magnanimous, or if you're tight-fisted, if you're kind, or if you're cruel, these are your natural tendencies, your traits. Break free from your traits. If somebody says to me, Rabbi, I can't come to shul. I don't like prayer. So I said to him, that's exactly why you should come. Break free. Don't define yourself by the way you were born. Right? Do you limit your financial prowess to third grade? Do you limit your political awareness to what you knew when you came out of the womb, or do you study new things every single day? Right? So why would you say that I can't give charity because it's not my nature? On the contrary, if it's not your nature, good. So break free from your nature. Be a Jew. Vision statement of Judaism, right? The next one is to go from your birthplace. What does your birthplace mean? These are the default behaviors and acceptable standards of your environment. The place you were born. So the way we did it is we didn't go to Hebrew school. What we did it is we didn't go to shul on Shabbos. We only went to shul once on Yom Kippur. Right? Okay, so break free. Yeah, set yourself free. Don't define yourself. And finally, the last one is from your father's house. What is your father's house? This is your education. Right? The way you were educated. So there's nature would be from your land would be your nature. Your father's house is your nurture, and your environment and your birthplace would be your culture. Your culture, right? Nature, nurture, and culture. Beautiful. Nature, nurture, and culture. Nice. I like that. And that's what the Torah is telling us to do. You weren't raised observant, Mazel Tov. So it's time to reinvent yourself, right? And that's what Hashem tells us every single Jew. Get out of your personality, get out of your character, get out of your comfort zones. I'm not comfortable with this, Rabbi. Okay, so do it for God. That's what we find that Abraham does when God asks him the crazy question to bind the son upon the altar. So what does he do? He does it. Now the angel says to him, "Now I know that you're truly God-fearing." Until now, we thought the angel's telling him, according to the Hasidic interpretation. Until now, we thought that everything you did was because you're a people pleaser. They actually thought that Abraham was a people pleaser, that he was codependent, that he was weak, that he couldn't stand up for himself, and that he just liked making people happy. So when God asked him to do stuff, he did it, right? People that you ask them to do crazy things, then they can't say no, right? That's what they thought Abraham was like that. But now when they asked him to do something which is truly cruel, bind your son upon the altar, and he did it, they're like, oh, now we know that you weren't just doing it because it was your nature, you're doing it because you actually cared about God. Right? And that's the challenge that every single one of us is called upon to do. God is deliberately not telling us where to go. I want you to follow me to the land that I will show you. Because what's demanded of a Jew is devotion and connection to God, to the point where you're willing to give up your comfort zones and you're willing to do whatever Hashem is asking of you. This is the very first commandment given to Abraham. This is the vision statement of Judaism. This is the foundation of divine service. And this is what's going to bring us to the promised land. Any comments?
We can use the Chabadism, the mission is to screw with our heads, come with one thing one week, and then the complete opposite the next week. So what you're saying is you're not telling us where to go. But the whole point that we've been learning about recently is that it is our vision, our mission, to make this world holy so that Hashem can come back down to this world. So there is another day.
Okay, fine. So let me put you this. It's in questions. I like that. So I think it's like this. I think that what started off in the beginning was that Abraham had no idea where he was going. So God tells him, just work with me here. Trust me. But we got very, very, very fortunate in the 18th century to see the rise of the Baal Shem Tov. When the Baal Shem Tov founded the Hasidic movement, what he did was that he shared with us the secrets of Jewish mysticism, the secrets that were heretofore unknown. Now, why was that necessary? The reason was because the further we go away from Mount Sinai, from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the more we descend into a darker exile. So what they were capable of managing, we're no longer capable of managing. So we need more infusion of clarity, of awareness. That's why we have the teachings of Chassidus. Chassidus is there in order to give us the strength to carry on. Imagine if your father was Moses. It'd be a lot easier for you to follow, to toe the line, right? Than if your father was not Moses, right? Was Harry, right? So in the same way, what the Baal Shem Tov does, what Chassidus does, is that it uncovers the secrets of all the mitzvahs of the Torah in order to make them more meaningful to us. So that in a generation of TikTok and YouTube shorts, where the competition is fierce for your attention, you'll actually be motivated to follow the path of God. In Abraham's days, they didn't have much distraction, You know what I mean? There wasn't that much distraction compared to the kind of distractions that we have today.
I would also argue that what you said is actually a high-level initiative. To do something is a tactic. To make the world a better, so it's a tactic. It's not a vision. The vision's here. That's a tactic. That's something we're to try to do.
Yeah, but isn't that the end game?
But that's what
I
makes
mean,
it.
the end game is to.
Well,
let
me mediate between the two of you. I just want to give a quick mediation because I think you're all making good points. Just a quick point. We said in the Shabbos between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, Shabbos Shuvah, the prophecy from Moshe, it says, Shuvah Yisrael ad Havaya Lekecha. Return, O Israel, do to Shuvah, until which point? Until Havaya becomes a Lekecha. Think about that. I mean, that was mind-blowing. Until, what's a Lekecha? Lekecha means your strength, your power, right? Until Havaya becomes your strength and power. Now, I mean, that's both of what you're saying. On the one hand, it's telling you that follow me until Havaya becomes your essence, your core, your power, your default setting, right? But at the same time, it's also being quite clear that it's saying that I want Hashem to be down in this world. It's ambiguous enough to be able to carry both interpretations. But that really is what I think is where I think it's at. That as time develops, we become increasingly more distracted and therefore much more in need of divine inspiration, which is what Chassidus is about. And for me, Chabad Chassidus is this most incredible, amazing expose of divine mysticism, which is why it's my honor and pleasure and privilege to devote my life to sharing this wisdom with my fellow Jews, because this is what's going to keep us Jewish. Without this Torah inspiration, you're going to tell someone about how he's supposed to tie his shoelaces and the order of how he's supposed to make blessings on food. And it just doesn't talk to a 19-year-old teenager who's dealing with social justice warriors in Berkeley, California, right? But if you tell him that there's a mission to change the world, right? Yeah. That's a revolution that people buy into. And by the way, the reason why Apple is so popular is not because they sell nice products, but because they have a revolution which people love to buy into. They have a beautiful why for their product. That's why you have companies that create cult followings like Harley Davidson. Why would somebody put a tattoo of Harley Davidson on their shoulder? I mean, seriously, this is somebody else's name and logo. Like, why would you give free marketing to somebody for eternity on your body? Like, why would you do that? Because it's a mindset, it's a revolution, it's a lifestyle that is so inspirational to people. And the ultimate revolution is the revolution which is Judaism. And when we can share and expose that, we can learn the Parsha on a deeper level. It becomes so exciting, so meaningful, something that even our grandchildren and children and even ourselves will want to buy into in the most beautiful, meaningful way.
Example.
Vision statement of Google is to provide access to the world's information in one click. Beautiful.
That's the vision.
Beautiful.
Their mission is their mission is to organize it, to make it accessible.
Folks, I got to catch a flight. I will be out this week, but God bless you and see you in a few days. Take care. God bless.
Provide access.